in 5, 4, 3, 2.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Jess Marshall podcast. You are looking live at a solo episode. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to talk about Mike Leach, performance enhancement, and optimizing productivity on today's podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Let's fucking go. Hope everybody's having an awesome week. Bit of a bummer week. Had bummer news yesterday. Twitch passing away brings a lot to the forefront of our minds about mental health and depression, and the holidays are really tough for some people. A very sad story there. And then the day before that, Mike Leach passed away. Mike Leach, beloved college football coach, and not a lot of people know he was also a rugby man when he was younger. He actually never played football. He went to BYU, got his law degree from Pepperdine, and played rugby at BYU. Got lots of his ideas, which he put into his football game planning from the game of rugby. But I want to talk about that because Mike Leach has always been an innovator, but just want to talk about kind of realizations that I've had just in the last few months, man. Just life is so short. It's crazy. I lost my last grandparent in August. Just lost a good puppy dog. Lost a guy who was almost like a godfather to me when I moved to Texas back in July. And, you know, Mike Leach passing so suddenly, Twitch yesterday passing away. You know, life is really, really short, y'all. And I think, you know, if you're anything like me, you get kind of stuck hustling, striving. You get stuck being anxious, being frustrated, maybe getting excited. And it's really just hard sometimes to remind yourself to slow it down, to seek some balance, and just to take a look around and take it all in and just enjoy it for just a minute. I think that a lot of the messages that we hear now on social media, on the internet, hustle, work hard, then work harder, nobody cares, work harder, work smarter and hard. I think all of that's important. I really do. I don't think that anybody who's gotten anywhere in life would tell you that you can kick your feet up and just smell the roses 24/7 and everything's going to work out for you. Plug in that Fortnite and just mail your days in, and you're going to get out of life what you want to get out of it. But man, something that my brother and I talked about yesterday, you get out what you put in. And life is investing. If you're putting bad energy out there, negative energy out there, pessimism out there, if you're taking from people only, that's what you're going to get back out of life. Life's not going to be very enjoyable. And I think one thing that really drew me to Mike Leach when he first came onto my radar, which was when he went from Kentucky to OU, working for Bob Stoops, and then he got the tech job, was how football was part of his life. It was something that he was paid to do, to coach football, to be an innovator. But man, I don't think that in this era, I've seen anyone like Mike Leach, other than possibly Joe Rogan, I'm sure there's many others, who was as curious just about life and about everything as Mike was. And when you read all of these condolences and posts and almost respect letters and notes from other college football coaches, other big names. Heard Troy Aikman on the ticket this morning talking about Mike, talking about how he wished he had the opportunity to meet Mike. They all talk about his zest for life, his curiosity. The guy was a voracious reader. He was a traveler. He was just a very fascinating person. And I think that really strikes a chord with me because, man, you know, I'm in the entrepreneur space, in the realtor space, in the building, construction, restoration space. And man, there's a lot of hustle and grind in that space. And I think I lose sight of the fact that there's so fucking much about life that we don't know very much about. And when your life just consists of the small circle, the day in, the day out, and you're not learning about anything new or curious about anything new or meeting new people, to me, that's when life becomes trudgery and drudgery. And Mike was a guy who really beat to the rhythm of his own drum, man. I mean, some of the Mike Leach clips are just insane. Is that a clip? Is that a clip montage? Sohill, there was one on my Instagram story too. Fire that. Let's listen to some of the ones from Tech.
Let me get a
awesome.
good montage.
Yeah, his there's a back-to-back montage of Mike Gundy, who one of Mike Gundy's most famous, probably his most famous. Mike Gundy, head coach, Oklahoma State. I'm a man. I'm 40. But during the same. After the same game, Leach is on there talking about his players, their body language, etc. And I remember, I love Leach, and he was at Washington State. That's where, that's my pride and joy. Well, go Cougs. And he took the Cougs. Just his tone is crazy. Fire it off. Let's see what he's got to say.
Season back to 10 games, and you can have some well-placed off weeks. You can have an NIT in between to fill in the blanks. And let's have a 64-team playoff. The champion will play 16 games. And see this guy. I'm not off the mark here. You're off the mark. Everybody else does it this way.
100%.
And everybody thinks that I went into a cave and carved all this out. I walked down the street and it was like,
heard of this guy.
It was like baseball. Softball, basketball.
As coaches, we failed to make our coaching points and our points more compelling than their fat little girlfriends. Now, their fat little girlfriends have some obvious advantages.
I heard this before too. Who's he talking about?
His players.
Hear, and how
earlier this year at Mississippi State, he was talking about sitting under or behind a shade tree. Drinking lemonade, eating fish sandwiches with your fat little girlfriend, and his receiving core, because he's an offensive fucking genius, and I'll explain a little bit more about that for the sports nerds out there in a minute, but he is not a punch puller. He is not your friend if you're not going to go out there and fucking try hard. And if you're going to show up and you're going to be entitled, he's not here for that. He's an innovator. He made football really, really fun for guys who did not have prototypical football bodies. I'm talking little dudes who were really fast and super athletic. There wasn't really a place for them. And Mike created the air raid offense. And the basis of the air raid offense is you go from sideline to fucking sideline and you spread the defense completely out. And you use what you have in terms of your athletes. You want to talk about a guy who could do more with less. That's Mike Leach. And he actually found out how to do more with more because there were not coaches who understood how valuable a resource a guy like Wes Welker or Danny Amendola were. He made River Craycraft just a star at Washington State. And the way he did it was he created space on the field. And that's the exact same way rugby is. So you're looking for space on the field. Football, traditional football, by the way, came from rugby. Thank you or not to Teddy Roosevelt for that. Look at this spacing right here, Sohill. See how, so this is a pro game. Kansas City looks like Tampa. In the pro game, the hash marks, which are those little dashes, those are closer together than the college game. I won't get too technical. What Leach does in the air raid is the offense is on the left, the defense is on the right. The offense is the Chiefs in the bright red jerseys. He would take the guy at the top of the screen and the guys at the bottom, and he would scoot them all the way to the boundary. And what that does, it spreads the defense out. And what he's trying to do is create space on the field so his players can create. And the other thing that he did is he developed a system that was really, really simple to master. But what it took from football players is something that I disdained about football when I played football, which is you go out and you run one play, you have you make no calls, you have no autonomy, so no independence. You go out, you know exactly how many steps to run forward, turn left, turn right, the play is over, walk back, do it again. So boring. Rugby, completely opposite. Rugby is also not a coach-centric game like football is. And I'm very passionate about this when I talk about the differences between the sports, because in rugby, that is a player's game, man. You get through training. Most rugby matches played on Saturdays. We get to Friday, and we don't like what the director of rugby or the rugby coach is telling us is going to be the game plan for who we're playing. The captain comes. We all talk. Captain's one of the players. We do a captain's run, and we decide how we're going to play the match tomorrow. How we're going to fucking win. Are we going to do what we practice all week, or do we not believe in that game plan? The independence that you have in rugby is something that Mike Leach tried to bring to football, and some guys were very resistant to that, because in football, you really toe the line, you run the play, you do it the right way, you run your route. And Leach was saying, get out here, and then depending on what the defense does, you have 2, 3, 4 options of what to do. But what that requires is for all the guys on offense to be on the same fucking page. You got to all be reading the game together. And when the air raid flowed, man, the air raid came from Hal Mummy at Kentucky. He had Tim Couch, who was a Heisman Trophy candidate, and that was Leach's first pupil. So you see, that's a running play
it's
right
so
up the gut.
Out.
Yeah. And then if you go to, if you look up Texas Tech Mike Leach air raid, I'll show you the difference in the formations that he would have with bunches and just spreading across the field. You know, with the exception of the crazy scenario at Texas Tech where Leach got fired pretty much for not toeing the line. That's an example.
It's 2008.
I wonder who Tech's playing there. 08. That looks like they're playing
UT.
Texas. Yeah. I don't even know if Leach was there in 08. But you see how wide that formation was. You also see how much closer the numbers, the 20-yard, 30-yard lines are to the sidelines, and how much further apart the hash marks are. So you're spreading the defense out. You're creating these big areas of space, and then you're just telling your offense to go seek the space. You're just attacking space in the air raid offense. And that was the innovation of Mike Leach. In that clip you showed where he was sitting there with in that presser, talking about getting in the head, hitting in the head with a baseball or softball, he's talking about a college football playoff. And it's pretty amazing, because a college football playoff, a big playoff, a 12-team playoff, just got fucking approved. Now, he was talking about a 64-team playoff, and football's different from basketball. It's much more physical. You play once a week. College basketball is nowhere near as physical as college football. It's a tough game. College basketball players are some of the most premier athletes on the planet. Basketball players make some of the best rugby players. Love those guys. So you couldn't probably play a 64-game playoff and keep the importance of the college football season on the regular season games. But Mike was an innovator. And I think my point more than anything about Mike is that he did not give a fuck. Mike was not someone who cared what you thought. Mike was on the planet and was not a selfish guy by any means, but he was not going around seeking the approval of others. If he had a strong belief that there was a right way to do something, he did it. He took risks. He gave guys chances. He made guys like Gardner Minshew into cult heroes. If you'll look up Google Gardner Minshew mustache Mike Leach, Gardner Gardner Minshew, Minshew. Gardner Minshew transferred around. He was going to be a fifth-year senior. Saban told him, come to Alabama. He almost went. Leach said, no, come to Washington State and you'll lead the country in passing. Gardner came to Wazoo. Leach turned him into a fucking hero. Gardner Minshew is just a badass. And after a game, Gardner has this big mustache. Everybody at Washington State had these tape-on mustaches in the stands, and they won a big game. I think it was the home game against Southern Cal, I think. And Minshew comes and he takes a fake mustache and puts it on Leach's lip while Leach is talking to the sideline reporter. And it's just funny as fuck, man. Yeah, that's it right there. Upper right. Just hilarious. Hilarious. You see the fake mustache like all crooked on Leach's face. Leach is a great sport. The players who ran his system, players who were kind of outliers, and Leach embraced those guys. I mean, the Leach coaching tree is legendary. There's coaches all over the country. One just got hired from Washington State to hire at my final alma mater, University of North Texas, just got hired as head football coach, yesterday or the day before. Leach, groundbreaking guy, interesting guy, and I think more than anything, when you talk to or listen to guys like Chris Peterson from University of Washington talk about Mike Leach, they would say, man, I would go talk to Mike, and we would talk about everything under the sun except for football. And I think that's a really interesting person to me. And it's a person that I aspire to be. And it's one reason why I started the Jess Marshall podcast, because there's so many people living their lives in such different ways and all doing it a little different. Some of them are really following a pattern that they see others doing. Some of them are taking strengths from winners, leaving maybe the weaknesses, but taking the strengths, learning. Some of them are just striking out on their own, doing their own thing. Have them in here to the studio and sit down with them for 2 hours, turn our phones over. I mean, we don't get opportunity to have conversations like that with our own loved ones in our own homes very often because our phones just dominate our lives. I bring them in, have them on the podcast so I can learn about them. Artists, authors, athletes, influencers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, business people, attorneys, historians. And these are all people who are making their way through life in a way that, from where I observe them, they're not just living this regular life where they're a battery plugged into the matrix, where they just went to college, got a job, they take their 2 weeks off a year, they have their 2.5 kids, their white picket fence, they're good to go, they eat from the food pyramid, they watch the mainstream media, and they're good with that. Most of the people I have on, I consider them to be outliers outside the system. They run their own businesses. They try their own shit. They say controversial things. They challenge the mainstream thought processes that are acceptable. They might say things that are at the moment controversial because right now you could say something right now that in 2-3 weeks you might be canceled for. I mean, it's insanity. You can't have an opinion without hurting someone else's feelings. If you hurt their feelings, they want to cancel. You just look at what's happening on Twitter now. Could you imagine Leach on Twitter 24/7 just talking about it? I mean,
Wait, why'd he get fired? You didn't finish that.
He got fired at Tech. This is a crazy story, bro. So at Tech, he's coaching. He has a player with a concussion. This is a player who had a questionable work ethic. This is a player who had maybe not enough talent to actually get the scholarship he got. Leach gave him a chance, and the kid was arrogant. Adam James, the son of Craig James, SMU great, part of the Pony Express, part of the reason why SMU got the death penalty. His son, Adam James, went to Tech. His son, Adam James, claimed, I can't practice. I have a concussion. Leach told him, go over and stand in that dark shed because when you have a concussion, it makes your eyes very sensitive to light. Adam James claimed that he was being abused, that Coach Leach was doing wrong by him. There's a fuck ton of articles about it. Leach did not bend the knee. Leach said, no, Adam James is lazy. Adam James was saying this and that. I told him to go stand in the dark shed because he had a concussion. If we're not going to practice, then let's get better however we can. And Adam James got Mike Leach fired from Tech, and Mike Leach has a law degree, and I believe I think his last lawsuit against Tech finally got dismissed, but he was suing Tech up until either now or the last few years for what he believed he was owed in terms of back pay because they wrongfully fired him and he was owed what he was owed on his contract. But the administration at Tech took a very woke approach to Leach. It's my opinion of what happened. They didn't. What's that?
What year?
Man, Mike Leach fired by Texas Tech. God dang, I don't know.
Look it up.
Because then he went, while you're looking that up, he got fired from Tech, sued Tech, left college football for a couple years.
2009.
Yeah, 2009. So a while back. He was out of college football for a couple of years until Washington State University came calling. And Bill Moose, the then athletic director at Wazoo, went down. Washington State was on hard times, bro. Had given a couple chances to a couple of guys that were just not cutting it, that were not head coach material. Bill went down to Florida, to the Keys, where Mike was, fishing every day, living on the water. Mike, by the way, as a side note, way into pirates. He wrote a book called Swing Your Sword. I mean, Mike Leach is a fascinating guy.
I saw like R.I.P. the Pirate.
Exactly. And they brought him in to Washington State, and the rebuild was on. And Mike was awesome. He was never not Mike. He always was outspoken, funny, very eclectic, a little off center, something there. He just was a different guy. He brought the pride back to the Palouse. He is the reason why Washington State finally got College Game Day after years and years of taking the Wazoo flag to College Game Day every Saturday. College Game Day finally came to Pullman for a Washington State home game. That was all because of Mike Leach. And then 3 years ago, he finally got a big break and was hired by an SEC school and went to Starkville and coached Mississippi State, which is where Dak Prescott went to college, and was in the SEC. And you can best believe that Saban and Kiffin and all of those SEC coaches, when they heard that Mike was coming to the SEC, they knew they were in for some shit because Mike was going to bring it every game. And he might not have had the best talent on paper, but he could beat anyone on any given Saturday. You give him a couple years, I bet he would have given Kirby and the Bulldogs down in Georgia, who are probably going to win it all this year, a hell of a run on any given Saturday. Mike Leach was a special guy, and I think he's a folk hero, and I think he really stands out, not only because his death was so untimely. I mean, 61 years old, that's way, way, way too young to be passing away. I don't know if he received the medication for the cold. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. There's a lot of people who think there's crazy strokes and heart attacks happening all over the place because the medication for the cold wasn't proven or researched. I don't know. Just speculating. I'm not sure where he stood on that. 61, though, to be gone, it's just, as I get older, I realize how short life is. And obviously, that's not special. I'm nobody special. When you're young, Christmas is so far away. When you're in your 40s like me, I turn around and I'm like, what? The year's gone? We got to do this Christmas bullshit again? I mean, it's crazy. So life really speeds up. And if you're young out there, you probably hear old guys with gray hair or your mom or your grandma or grandpa telling you, hey, Enjoy it. If you have kids, Jordan Peterson says, man, you have 4 years with your kids. You know, you got those first 4 years, and those just fly by. I don't have kids yet, and I'm going to be an older dad when I do have kids. I can tell you I'm going to enjoy the fucking shit out of everything with them. I hate Christmas, but I'm looking forward to having a son or a daughter because it's going to be all about them. And I think we all would do well to remind each other with our words how much we appreciate one another when we see each other in person or we talk to each other on social media. Our words have so much power. They have so much power. I had a podcast guest on a couple months ago, Thunder Walker. Our words are words of affirmation. What we say to other people, they carry power. The words we say to ourselves, they carry power. When you meet someone, press up against your comfort level and say to that person, hey, I appreciate you. I think you might be going through some hard times. I just want you to know, hang in there. I'm always here for you. Especially this time of year around the holidays. It's fun for a lot of people, and it sucks for a lot of people going through divorces, losing loved ones, losing puppy dogs, fighting the economy. We got this crypto craziness going on. We got all kinds of upheaval in politics and all over the globe. This is a tough time of year for some people. I think it would do us all a hell of a lot of good if we moved outside of ourselves and we gave. Giving and helping is just a crazy elixir. You say you got something to say, Holmes?
Yeah, a couple things. What about the other way around, like appreciating your parents?
Bro.
I think about that so much.
Bro.
It's like, it seems like all the milestones that we go through are just getting pushed later and later. And I'm thinking about my parents were in their 30s when I was a kid. Like, I remember that. I'm about to hit that. And like my grandparents were in their 60s, like late 50s, 60s when I was a kid. All that's getting pushed for my parents at least. And I know, you know, a lot of my contemporaries, and just appreciating life, how we have it now.
You know,
it's a little dissonant with what we grew up.
Don't you think a lot of people too, I mean, complaining is the default for all humans. We all run from pain. Right? That's just a natural reflex of our ego. Our ego keeps us alive. If you killed your ego, you would walk out into traffic and get hit by a truck and die, right? You need your ego to stay alive. But you got to keep your ego in check. We complain so fucking much. It's another thing I want to talk about, performance enhancing and optimizing our productivity, our output, complaining. We have it so good now, bro. It's unreal. We had our company Christmas party for Autograph Construction, here for all of your construction restoration needs. If you got hit with hail yesterday, you should DM me. I can help you fight your insurance company, and you can best believe that's what it's going to take these days. And we were in this magnificent restaurant. It was one of these Brazilian steakhouses. It's just amazing how good we have it now. You don't even have to own a car, and you can get a ride within 5 minutes unless you live in, I don't know, York, Nebraska. I mean, you press a button, you get a ride to the store, get a ride home, you get your food delivered, you can get people delivered. It's insane.
That touches on the second thing I wanted to ask you about. Like, there's complaining, but then you also mentioned this is a tough time of year for a lot of people, and that's throughout, like, no matter what your material conditions are, you're going to have lows and highs. But aside from that, what do you think makes seasonal depression happen? Like,
I think
obviously there's the sun thing, but
yes.
Aside from that, what about like cultural, like holidays or?
I think this time of year, first of all, daylight savings, they just need to pass that at the federal level, and in March, we need to spring forward for the rest of time. This fallback bullshit sucks. It is depressing to drive home in the traffic, and it's pitch black at night. I prefer working out in the afternoons and the evenings. It's when I feel strongest, most creative, helps me relax, and it's blackout. It's just horrible. So I do think that has something to do. I think, and having really struggled with depression for, the last several years until I've gotten some things squared away recently, I think you think back to the the warm times, the happy times, maybe with your family, or you think back maybe to some times when things weren't happy at home and you looked around and all your friends seemed like they were living these perfect lives in their perfect homes, which we all know don't exist. So I think it's a lot of that. And then I think also it seems like everyone's getting together during the holidays. And if you're going through a divorce or you're struggling with substance abuse or you're depressed or all of those things at one time or whatever, and you don't want to go be around people, you want to be alone, I think that's when things start to compound. I think it's the compounding effect. We have no idea what happened with Twitch. Obviously, that guy was just the most cheerful, looked like he had the idyllic life.
I'm surprised you knew who he was. I just knew him from the show.
Ellen,
like 15. No, So You Think You Can Dance. Ellen?
Yeah. So he was Ellen's like DJ.
Oh.
And he did he's the reason why Ellen would dance.
I avoided the Ellen show like the plague.
Well, as did I. However, I'm definitely a content connoisseur, and if something's popular, I won't just say I don't agree with the way this person lives their life or I don't like the way they look. I want to know why they're successful. And hey, hats off to Ellen, man. You want to talk about fighting through some adversity. Whether you're on the Christian conservative right and you think that she got a platform and never should have and that's the downfall of our society or not, that doesn't take away from the fact that Ellen fought her fucking ass off to get where she was. Twitch's big choreographer guy.
Yeah, I knew him from So You Think You Can Dance.
That's where he met his wife.
I watched that like when I was like seventh grade. But I wanted to say, you talked about like we think about the good times or there should be good times. I think there's a huge converse of that with people who feel pressure to provide those times for the people they love. And that takes them out of the spirit, so to say, more than just instead of being there with whatever you can provide emotionally. That extrapolates to like all of life. I think I'm thinking about dads. I'm thinking about,
I agree with you. I was talking to some people in my inner circle last couple days, just talking about how pointless Christmas shopping is. I was in a couple of stores last night.
It a couple months before or after.
But
or do it throughout the year. Don't feed into the.
I don't like the frenzy. Everything's a mess. People are in a bad mood. It is what it is. I think Christmas is fucking pointless, but it is good to have traditions. It is good to have, family time. I was just like, the problem is that, when you have loved ones, one of the best ways to convey to them what they mean to you is to give them a gift. I don't really need much of anything. A lot of people tell me I'm impossible to buy stuff for. I don't think many of us have that big in needs. I just dropped off a bunch of toys, not to toot my own horn, more to toot Guy Mesger's horn over at Monster Fitness and Mesger Martial Arts. He's got a toy drive going over there for Jonathan's place. I mean, think about this, man. Think about the kids who right now are being removed from their homes by Child Protective Services because their mom or dad are an addict, or their mom drove drunk with them in the car and went to jail, and the CPS went to the house and saw it's a mess, or there's no food in the Think about those little buddies, man, who aren't going to have a Christmas. The pressure on a lot of parents is rough, man, right? All these kids, they look around on social media. They got a friend over here getting a car. They got a friend over here getting the Dyson hair wave for $6. That's a big trending
like
gift right now, isn't it?
I got my mom that.
Did you?
I didn't. My dad did.
Does it work?
It's phenomenal. As someone who used to straighten my hair.
Yeah.
And like super, I know the struggle, especially with someone like my mom's hair. That thing is crazy.
So apparently it's in such high demand that it's on back order everywhere except on the Dyson website.
Yeah, my dad ordered a stand that was supposed to match it.
Yes.
And they sent a different color.
Yes.
And we're like, what the hell? And they were like, just use it until we can.
Yeah, the
fulfill.
color, I think the colors are down to like an orange. Like the only colors left are colors that no girl wants. Probably no color that you want either, dog.
Yeah.
If you're straightening that sweet,
black.
You got that mane
No,
going.
I'll find some pictures, man. Back in 2010
You had it
during
straightened?
the emo. Oh yeah.
That's fucking legit. I do want to see that. Was it like Tom Petty straight?
No, it was like
Trent
I'll show
Reznor
you.
straight?
more like that. But
I bet that looked pretty rad,
I
dog.
remember 2010, like the emo kids.
Yeah.
like that.
You got the black hair, the black nails, the all black everything.
Yeah, I was hitting the nails way before it became trendy.
Did you have of course, trendsetter. You're like the Mike Leach of emo kids. Were you did you have the black earring match the black nails match the black chucks, or were you going Doc Martens?
Can't fit either of those shoes, Jess.
Oh, that's right.
I have
Bros.
these knockoff boots, but not earring. I've only had this nose thing, but I kind of want earrings. Did you have earrings back in the day?
I've never had an earring. I've got a state senator, very, very, very opinionated uncle. I'm afraid if I would have come around the farm with an earring, I might have had that thing ripped out. I never really wanted one. I don't have any problem with them. Go Harrison Ford. And I also think, like Mike Leach, that pirates are fucking rad, and they would wear their jewelry so that other pirates wouldn't steal it off their ass, because there is no honor among thieves, folks.
We're talking about Christmas. You familiar with this lore? I mean, I bet you. I mean,
Which lore?
So can you see the top screen?
No, it blacked out on me. Speaking of black, my screen's all murdered out.
My bad. So
Influence of a... No, on Christmas?
So let me give you a little rundown while I scroll through this. So are you familiar with the Amanita muscaria mushroom? I know Terrence has talked about it. Dennis has talked. It's this one. The
I am not.
red and white stool.
That's the iconic one, though, that everyone puts
Mario
an emoji.
mushroom.
Yes.
So that's that's a pretty dissociative mushroom. I wouldn't call it hallucinogenic, right?
Right?
But it only grows under pine trees in Siberia or northern climates. So
Really?
the theory is that shamans back in the day, way back before modern Coca-Cola used red and white Christmas imagery,
So that's why Christmas colors are green and red and white?
That's
Really?
a lot of people trace it to this because these would be found under trees, right? Under pine trees. The shamans would go pick them, put them in a bag, bring them back to the village. They would take them. Not only would they take them and trip the alkaloids that make them, not trip, but make them,
Yeah, journey a
dissociate.
little, sure.
One of the things they say, they feel like they have a flying sensation, right? Well, here, after the shaman had ingested the mushrooms or drunk the urine of the reindeer, because reindeer would eat these mushrooms, and the alkalines that would make you high would still be in the urine. So they would get pissed off piss. That's where a lot of people say that comes from.
Yes.
But then the shamans and also mushrooms would eat them. It makes you feel like you're flying reindeer. Sorry, reindeer would eat them. Makes you feel like you're flying.
Crazy.
It also flushes your cheeks and stuff. So maybe Rudolph,
The red-nosed reindeer.
And
wow.
So then they would come back with these gifts and do their shaman thing.
That's amazing. No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that's a whole lore. It's just like all the things talked about on Rogan that seem like it would be awesome if they were true.
Yes.
But there's probably a little bit of truth, a little bit of, extrapolation. But I like to think about it.
Yeah.
I think it's true.
Well, there's a there's mythical elements to every good story. There are people who believe that the Bible, that the entirety of the Bible is all allegories, and that Jesus, whenever he's mentioned in the Bible, is an allegory for some sort of psychedelic, and that those who wrote the Bible had discovered this, but they wanted to document everything, but they did not want anyone to come steal it from them. In fact,
See, that would be so sick if it were true.
well, there's a journalist. I don't recall his name. I've started his book. Gosh dang it. Of course, Rogan has talked about him. So this guy was part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, this research group. So this guy's a researcher. He's a professor. I think I said journalist. He's not a journalist. I mean, this guy is legit, an academic. And he wrote a book about how the Bible is a story about psychedelics. And if you listen
They say the burning bush was Mimosa hostilis or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. And if you've done psychedelics, I believe psychedelics should be consumed. This is how I live my life, should be consumed to enhance performance and to optimize. I myself don't use them just to party and whatever. I'm not saying you're not enjoying that sensation if it's happening and it's positive. There are times, however, when I have used psychedelics to help elevate my brain levels where it has not been enjoyable at all. It has been very hard work, extremely hard work. So the psychedelic thing in terms of...
I mean, they say that about even like Hinduism, the Rig Veda.
Yes.
They talk about soma, which is what Aldous Huxley in Brave New World called his drug, right?
Yes.
Soma was maybe that Amanita muscaria mushroom, the flagaric.
Yes. Well, listen, the Egyptians were using the purple water lily, and they were adding that psychedelic compound from that plant to their wine. And everyone thought, oh, the Egyptians, they're just drinking wine. No, man. And they're the ones who started coming up with what we know as the most commonly known...
It was aliens.
Engineering marvels that are the pyramids. But if you watch the Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson podcast with Joe Rogan, which came out at the same time that the Graham Hancock Netflix series came out about ancient civilizations, and you go into that with an open mind and just go into it to learn, just be curious, like Mike Leach, like your boy. I think I've
been fascinated and obsessed with all of that stuff for my whole life.
Yeah.
And I think I've come to a point where, like I said before, a lot of it can have meaningful truth, a lot of it can have historic truth, but we also like to confirm what we want to be true.
We 100% have confirmation. That's confirmation bias, right?
Yep.
So if you go into a study and you're a scientist and you go into it wanting a certain result, then you're going to be able to manipulate the result to arrive where you want it to arrive. The true scientific process, right, is I set up this hypothesis and then I test these theories. I record all of it. At the end, I record and document my findings.
That's all a lie, brother. Science is a lie.
That's right.
It's all about anecdotes.
That's right. That's just everything's anecdotal. If someone doesn't like something or doesn't like the way a trend is looking, it's all written off as anecdotal.
If you point to science or studies, that's all bought off or faulty.
Yes, there are elites behind everything, Sohail, I will have you know. They are controlling it all.
Okay, careful. Don't.
I know.
No.
It's crazy. I think the little title that we put together on this podcast, because this is only my second, maybe it's my third solo actual sit it down podcast. First live
the
one.
Title already.
Did you?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about performance enhancement and optimizing your output or your production.
You got 10 minutes.
Okay. Not about it being a grind hard, just the bro culture of, I need 50 cars and I want to look the part and you dress for the job you want and all of that. But more, if you look at your life and the situations that you encounter in your life, whether they're positive, negative, neutral, and all you do is change the way you look at them as this is an opportunity for me to build skills, life gets way more fun. Even when things are tough, maybe you are in small business and a client won't pay you and it frustrates you and you have to figure out how to make payroll. Instead of getting caught up in the frustration of that, look at it more as an opportunity to use maybe the abilities you already have or don't have to develop abilities and to build skills to add to your repertoire. I was talking to someone else yesterday or the day before. What's going to happen when we have a major power outage and no one can use YouTube for their how-tos? Do you know how to change a tire? Do you know how to hunt for food? Do you know how to grow food? Do you know how to shelter yourself, protect yourself, keep yourself warm? Do you know how to do any of those things? I think those are extremely important skills for people in general. But these days, I'm talking to men, bros, brother, if you want that beautiful woman, prove to her that you have the ability to adapt, to provide. You don't have to be 6'5" and ripped, but if you have energy, you have knowledge, you're curious, and you have skills that you're building all the time, that is such an attractive quality, man. It's unreal. You can walk into a room and you can tell by the way they carry themselves when, especially men, and there are times women as well, when they walk in, you can tell that person knows how to handle themselves. That person has ultimate confidence that no matter what happens, no matter what they encounter, they're going to be able to figure it out. And I think that it's important, especially if you're a dad and you're raising sons, that you're teaching them, maybe you don't even know yourself, but you say, guys, we're going to go camp and we're going to figure this out for like 3 days. We're going to go on a survival hike. Well, we're not going to take any food? No. We're going to take some water. We're going to figure out how to kill some rabbits and some squirrels, cook them over an open fire. We're going to figure out how to shelter ourselves, how to keep ourselves alive. These are such important skills that I feel like are almost disappearing as tech makes its just inevitable surge forward, and tech is great. But man, just take a minute to consider looking at life and the things that you encounter just a little bit differently and looking at them as opportunities to build skills. Because no one can take skills away from you once you've built them. You are in a situation where maybe you're uncomfortable. It's a social situation. You're at a networking group, something like that, and you're uncomfortable. You're going in, you're talking to people you've never met. That is not an opportunity to not go. That's an opportunity to rise to the challenge, to go, and to figure out how to run form on everyone you meet, right? We've talked about form before, Sohill, family, occupation, recreation, motivation. You get talking, you get someone talking about what? Their favorite subject themselves. Get a conversation going, do more listening than talking.
Is form always necessarily in that order?
No.
Because I think family is a really touchy thing to bring up, even on a first. That's something I feel out, because I know a lot of people that, family. But what do you think?
Yeah, I go right at family. If someone isn't comfortable talking about it, I've gotten to know them very intimately right there, right away, haven't I? I understand that there's something there that's causing pain. I'm not a dick. I'm not going to go leverage that against them. Maybe it would give me more perspective on how to be more.
Too.
Yeah, I think you do, man. You asked me the other day. You could tell I was bummed out when the puppy dog passed away.
Man.
Yeah, and you might have been the 30th or 40th person I had seen that day, and you were the first person who was like, dude, are you okay? So, I don't think you have to run form in that order. I think it's a really good formula.
Yeah.
I don't know if someone gets down.
I've been thinking about that a lot.
Have you?
I meet new people all the time. I talk to people. Motivation, that one really, I like that one. Like that's one that we talk about sometimes excluding, but I think motivation, not necessarily asking expressly about it, but figuring it out like a game,
100%. And, if you get to the point in a conversation where you're hearing from someone what their motivation is, whether that is the first thing you're talking to them about or you've gone all the way through
the
form.
first thing.
Yeah.
For me, I think.
How'd you get here and why?
It's just what I'm interested in more than astrology signs or.
Sure. I think it's very interesting that a lot of people who have gotten somewhere in life are extremely generous if you will go to them with a humble attitude and maybe even try to bring value to them and say, hey, how did you get to where you got? They will tell you. They will 100% say, yeah, man, let's get a coffee. Especially if you're going to them not with this attitude of I just want to get for me, hey, I want to learn about this from you. I know how to do this. I've noticed, maybe I can help you out in this regard. Can we just trade secrets? What I also have noticed is that a lot of people, when they go ask a winner or a champion, hey, how did you get there? They hear what it took to get where they got, and they say, yeah, I'm not doing that. That's too hard. And I think that's a bummer, because when you do go take someone's time and they're a proven winner or they're a success and they take the time to tell you how they got where they got, man, consider it. Before you just go, I could never do that. That's too. Do you know how capable you are we are all so much more capable of more than we even realize. Like the amount of time we waste, just our time wasting alone, that you could be spending reading, moving, strengthening your body, your skills, your mind. We sit back
like... It takes a whole lot of this. You see this?
Sort of. I see. Is that Rogan sitting down? Who's in the sleeveless shirt there?
No idea.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Dude, Joe works out real hard. What you got to do is find one of him on the Airdyne bike. Man.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
God almighty, that's hilarious. And he was talking about with More Plates, More Dates, Derek, the other day about what motivates you in the gym. Like when you're totally exhausted, can you get that one more rep? And they were talking about, well, sometimes you have to take your mind to a very dark place. And Joe said he takes his mind to, he's a big, especially submission fighter, anytime he's been tapped out. And the reason he got tapped out was not because the move came at him out of nowhere. He knew what was coming, but he was too tired. And he just didn't have it in him. Winston Churchill said what? He says, what is it?
Carry a big stick.
That's Roosevelt, bro. No, he said it makes cowards of us all. Exhaustion makes cowards of us all. I mean, fitness, so a fit body and a fit mind are going to get you so much further than just the talents you were born with. If you were born with badass talents, that's rad. That's awesome. You should be so grateful for that. Gary, what's Gary got to say?
We're speaking of motivation and taking your mind to a dark place.
Who do you love the most in the world?
My family.
Good. Who in your family? Pick one.
All of them.
Every day, literally once a day, genuinely sit there for 5 minutes and make pretend one of them got shot in the face.
Oh.
I'm being dead serious with you. Every single day, I actually sit
and
truly try to convince myself one of them got shot in the face. That is the biggest thing I do that leads to the biggest happiness I have.
What? Really? Every day he does that, and that's
so happy. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing he does. Look, I understand being great. I understand gratitude. Wow, that's really hardcore. Pretty sure I love my mom a lot. I can't really wrap my mind around that.
You want to do an experiment where you do that for a month and check back in?
I'm good. Should I put it through the scientific process where I document and then report back? No, bro, I'm good, and I love you, Mom. And that's harsh. Make pretend. That's a very...
Make pretend.
What is he? He sounds like he's from the 20s. Look, see, I want you to make pretend. The person you love the most, see, they got shot in the face. Make pretend.
Really quick, just the end of the show, I had some things that were topical that might make some good reels for us.
Yeah, what you got?
This, not super topical, just like this hit me hard. Hold on. This picture. That's the border between Arizona and Mexico. Like, that's like super artistic picture, but like just the fact those are shipping containers, right? I mean, some kind of cargo container.
Yeah. What is that, a makeshift wall?
Yeah.
Not that
no,
hard.
That's the border. Yeah, that's
Not that hard to get over a shipping container.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know, something about that.
That is very. Yeah, I see what you mean. You really like that deep fried. What was that effect that you called a lot of what my bro Pete Ham does on his graphics?
Yeah, deep fried.
I mean, I do too. There's something, is it not crazy how you can take a photo, if it's well focused, and make it completely have a different feeling, going black and white, fucking around with I love fucking around with filters.
I'll show you, maybe one day we can deep dive into the art I've made and my music.
Let's do it.
Stuff.
I'm very interested.
None of it's like traditional narrative. It's all very experimental and like, you know, I get pushback here for making our stories like a little too
weird.
Weird. Yeah.
Sohail, be more mainstream, please. Well, look, I mean, what is that Oscar Wilde quote, right? Be yourself, everyone else is taken. I've just been thinking about that a lot. Life is really, really short. Like, be as original as you want to be. Like, don't force anything, but if you like something, man, fucking go for it. You know? What mountain range is that back there? The Sierra Nevadas?
Arizona, so yeah.
Yeah. We're probably wrong.
I have no idea. I just said yeah.
Saddleback.
I said
something?
yeah, and I'm like, oh wait, this
I
is
don't
on
know.
the internet.
Wait, this is on the internet. I'm gonna get a lot of fuck you. Learn your geography,
so
bro.
this made me think of you. Before you turn 18, you have to choose exactly one of these books to read and then never stop talking about for the rest of your life.
Oh God.
It's Harry Potter, The Great Gatsby, Animal Farm, The Communist Manifesto, 1984, and the Bible.
Well, okay, I know a lot of Bible verses, as you well know. I think, and I've read all of those, I think with my new massive curiosity about whether or not the Bible is one big allegory, I think I would pick that last one.
Yeah.
Which one would you pick? Please don't say Harry Potter, bro.
Probably, I mean, Harry Potter, I grew up on it. I love it. Little soured by J.K. Rowling.
And, you know, I think The Great Gatsby was actually done a disservice by that newish movie.
Yeah, that sucked.
It really, you know, they tried. It's not like they didn't spend money on it either. They spent a fuck ton of money.
It was so bad. Animal Farm's amazing. Always misconstrued as anti-communism when it's anti-Stalinism.
Yes.
And in return, Communist Manifesto is amazing, but that's not a book. That's like 40-page pamphlet. I'd say maybe Das Kapital by Karl Marx, anything by Karl Marx. For me, it was Anti-Oedipus by Deleuze and Guattari. It's a...
I have no idea. I don't even know if what you just said was English.
We're going to do a podcast on them. They were French.
Feel like this will be a you-only pod. I better do some fucking research.
They were French psychoanalysts. One was psychoanalyst, one was a...
Here's what we'll do. Here's what we'll do. We're going to fucking argue about capitalism. And you're going to argue from your side, and I'm going to argue from my side, and it's going to be rad as fuck.
We can do that, but that's not interesting. There's plenty of
You don't think that the opposite of communism, socialism, and the argument of
communism's an end state. It's no point in even you can talk about that a little bit. It's more about what we do now, maybe to get to that end state. But yeah, the opposite is. I mean, the opposite isn't capitalism. The way Marx lays it out is that capitalism has to happen for the next era of just like serfdom had to happen before capitalism.
Okay.
Then you have socialism that brings forth communism. It's just a analysis of history. It's not really an opposing force. It's the way things go.
It certainly is presented often by those who may not be as educated as you are about the topics as two opposites.
Yeah.
What was your major field of study at the University of Tejas?
Radio, television, film, but I took a lot of classes on religion and Abrahamic religions and Eastern religions.
Really?
I took a lot of I took a food and culture class, which was really cool.
I bet.
I basically used it as a opportunity to just take all these cool ass classes.
What did they used to call that in college, where you'd be at a night class and you would look up to the back of the room and there'd be like a couple MILFs up there? Auditing, yes. And you'd be like, whoa,
couple of mil.
Yeah, we like, do we get a new sorority at campus? Like, what? And they'd be like, no, she's auditing. She has 2 kids, and you just be like, wow, that's what I have to look for. That's rad.
We gotta end up like close out soon. But did you see on Rogan? I don't know if it's released. I just saw a image, but the guy from Soft White Underbelly.
Oh my
was
God,
on there.
yes.
I was wondering if you're familiar with Soft White Underbelly. 'Cause
only a little bit. And if you guys don't know who this guy is, go on Rogan's YouTube and watch that 15-minute clip. So
I
what
watched the inbreds. That family.
That is crazy.
I never thought about that. We always joke about being inbred, but to see it is wild.
So Soft White Underbelly, crazy journalist, hardworking dude. He goes and interviews. What's he say? 5
He was actually
to
just
8.
a photographer.
Yeah,
and
but he's interviewing these people.
Yeah.
Often not getting very far with them because they're so far gone mentally. The substance abuse, mostly Skid Row in L.A.
I mean, he gets pretty deep with.
He does.
Even the ones that are.
He does. He talked about
gone.
spending money out of his own pocket, lots of money, trying to help people who don't really want help. That's the really big bummer if you have friends, relatives, loved ones who are twisted off into substance abuse. If they don't want help, there's nothing you can do, man. There's nothing you can do except be there for them.
Yeah.
But there's nothing
until you can't.
Yeah, I know
yourself.
you've got
to be there for them in the capacity where it's healthy for you. Which
yes,
is
at
the
a certain
hardest
point
thing
you
in
have
the
to
world.
survive, though. You know, and that is tough.
Okay, you familiar with this guy?
Mm-mm. Is this more of that eating bullshit that you made me watch?
Stibidi dop 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 dop. Yes 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 yes. Stibidi dip stibidi double 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 double. Yes 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 yes. Elate-mi na starta. Whoa. 4 po 4.
What's the gist here?
Stibidi dop 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 dop. Yes.
Awesome food.
Like TikTok's been pretty dry for me recently.
Yeah.
I really need to get the taller mic stand. My back is.
Use this
crazy.
one. Use this one.
We have more. I just need to.
I think you should get a Garth Brooks headset.
Yes 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 yes.
So this guy, is taking me back to the glory days.
Yeah.
He's great.
He is. You've seen those viral dancing clips of that guy, like in Kentucky. He's a little bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Holy fucking shit, that guy's got.
Awesome.
He's got, like I was talking about the other day, NFL offensive linemen. People think they're big fat dudes, and they've got the best footwork on the planet, man.
All right, last clip, and then we're out.
Clip it. Donkey? Is that Leslie Marshall? Oh, that's a horse.
So she's pretending to put the bridle on.
Really?
Yeah. I love this.
What a buddy. And he just goes with it. What breed of horse is that, man? Is that
I
like
don't know. I thought it was a donkey at first, too.
Yeah, but he's got the lower half, and his hooves look Clydesdale-ish. Wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's Pavlovian, is it not? Pavlov's dog.
Yeah,
He thinks
for sure.
maybe that's y'all and your phones and what you watch on the computer and TV, doing that, getting led around by imaginary leashes. I don't know, man.
Sheeps don't need leashes.
Sheeps. Bro, did you know that lions are never concerned with the opinions of sheep?
Dang, that's good. You just come up with that?
No, bro. And you never watched Game of Thrones, so you don't know.
Oh, is that Game of Thrones?
It was a line in there, and
No,
then
I mean,
everyone
I've heard that. a
Bro,
lot.
then everyone memed the fuck
Yeah.
out of that for like 4 years, and you're like, dude, you saw that on HBO?
I didn't
and now
realize
you're
that was that
you're
makes it even better.
You're trying to inspire your grandma on Facebook by by telling her that lions aren't concerned with the what are we doing here? You know?
All right, I think we gotta close out.
Fun Times Live. Yo, thank you guys for joining me. Jess Marshall Podcast. I sure like talking to people who live fearless, do-it-yourselves lives and live them in a passionate way. If you know somebody like that, if that's you, DM me. On Instagram, I'm at Jess from the Northwest. I check the DMs there because TikTok confuses the fucking shit out of me. But also, go check out my TikTok. It's blowing up a little bit. I want to blow it up a little bit more. Corey is way out in front of me, and I got to catch his ass. Also, thank you, Ryan and Sohill, for my new logo, Indomitable. What does that mean to you? I can tell you what it fucking means to me. It means I will never bend the knee if I don't believe. I'm going to live my life the way I think it should be lived. I hope you're doing the same thing, and I'll see you next time for the Jess Marshall Podcast. Let's fucking go. Hey, what's up? Thanks for checking out my videos here on the Jess Marshall YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe for sure. Hit that bell. Press that button to watch the next video. If you got a question you have about any of the topics I bring up in the videos, drop a question below, and we'll be sure to get an answer back to you ASAP. See you on the next one.